to the May 26, 2022 meeting. We'll call the Metropolitan Planning Commission to order. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping things for you guys. If everybody would put your phones on silent, and we appreciate that, so we don't have an interruption during the meeting. We really appreciate that. Also, happy Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody has a nice holiday, and we wish everyone the best with their families. All right, so next is the adoption of the agenda. Commissioners, welcome back. Here we are again, and we'll need a motion to adopt the agenda, which was sent out beforehand. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The agenda is adopted. Next is item C, which is the approval of the May 12th, 2022 minutes. Those were also sent out prior to the meeting, and I hope the commissioners have reviewed those. We'll need a motion to adopt, unless there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The minutes are adopted. Now is the recognition of the council members, and so we take the council members as we see y'all come in, and I apologize if you snuck in before the other, but we appreciate it. So first I saw Emily Benedict. Council Aide, do you want to go now or later? Okay. Thanks for coming. We appreciate the council members always. Next, Councilman Swope, you want to go now or come on up? Welcome. We appreciate you coming.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry about that, Councilman.
Well, you got good acoustics in here.
We do.
On the other side of the street is all commercial. The landowner approached me about changing his zoning from AR2A to CS, and I didn't have a problem with it at all. It fits in absolutely fine with the surrounds of where this property is. I know the staff has a problem with it, God bless them, because it violates policy. So if there's anything to get passed in this decision, it's that single policy decision. But if you drive down and look at this property, everything around it is completely commercial. So I do not have a problem with this. I would ask that you approve this. And with that, I will leave you to your evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate you coming down. I didn't see any other council members. I want to make sure we get...
Staff, what number was that Councilman Swoop talked about?
It's number 6. Yeah, sorry. This is number 16.
16.
Commissioner Tibbs. Yep. All right. Next, I don't see any other council members. So we'll go to the next item, which is item E, items for deferral withdrawal. And we are ready for that.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you. You got to talk kind of into the microphone.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
I have a learning curve, so I'm trying to channel my inner Lisa, but we'll see. Okay, the items for deferral or withdrawal tonight. Starting on page 3, item 1A, 2022 CP-008-001 North Nashville Community Plan Amendment and the associated case 1B 2022 SP-013-001 Second and Van Buren. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 9th Planning Commission meeting. Commissioner Blackshear is recused on both of those items. On page 4 of your agenda, item 2, 2021 SP-063-001, Charlotte View West. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 9th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 3, 2021 SP-091-001, Pinhook Ridge. Staff recommendation is defer to the July 28th Planning Commission meeting. And I would like to note that Commissioner Blackshear is recused on item 3. Item number 4, 2022 SP-023-001, Autumn Glen. Staff recommendation is defer to the June 9th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 5, 2022 SP-033-001, Shoreview SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 9th Planning Commission meeting. Item 6A, 2022 SP-016-001, Newsom Place, and the associated case. On page 5 of your agenda, 6B, 84-85P-005, the Biltmore PUD cancellation. The recommendation is to defer to the June 9th Planning Commission meeting for both of those items, and Commissioner Blackshear is recused from both 6A and 6B. Item number 7, 2022 S-073-001, Knights Corner. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. Item number 8, 2022 S-079-001, Williamson Homestead. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 9th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting. Commissioner Blackshear is recused from item number 8. Item number 9, 2007 SP-048-001, Zion Hill Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the July 28th Planning Commission meeting. Item number 10, 2022 SP-026-001, formerly 2022 Z-013PR-001, 4046 and 4060 Murfreesboro Pike. Staff recommendation is to defer to the July 28th meeting. On page 6 of the agenda, item number 11, 2022 SP-030-001, 930 McFerrin. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 9th Planning Commission meeting, and Commissioner Blackshear is recused from that item as well.
Thank you. And so, Commissioners, you've heard the items for deferral or withdrawal. And so we'll go through these items and make sure that I am correct. Items 1A, 1B, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6A, 6B, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the items. Is there a motion for deferral, withdraw all these items? There's a motion. Thank you, Vice Chair. And is there a second? And any other discussion? And I said to silent your phones, and I did not silent my own. That's terrible.
Just blame me.
So there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and those items are deferred. All right, we're on item F, the consent agenda items.
Okay, item F for the consent agenda. So I will read through the items on the tentative consent agenda and ask if anyone is here in opposition. If so, please raise your hand, and if there is a member in opposition, the items will be presented. If no one is in opposition to the item, it will be on the consent agenda. The first item is on page 6 of the agenda, item number 12, 2022 DTC-026-001, Paseo Tower 2. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Is there anyone here in opposition? That item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 13, 2022 SP-027-001, 1711 Broadway. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. No one in opposition. That item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 14, 2022 SP-042-001, formerly 2021Z-114PR-001, Crutcher Corner SP. The staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Is there anyone here in opposition? That item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 15, 2022 Z-051 PR-001. Staff recommendation is to approve. That item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 17, 2022 Z-058 PR-001. Staff recommendation is to approve. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? That item will be on the consent agenda. Okay, and now I'll run through with the full caption. As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by filing for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Okay, first item is item 12, 2022 DTC 026-001, Paseo Tower 2, a request for an overall height modification request for property on 8th Avenue South. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. And I believe I forgot to mention the first time that Commissioner Blackshear will be recused from that item. Item number 13, 2022 SP-027-001, 1711 Broadway, a request to rezone from MUIA to SP zoning for property located at 1711 Broadway. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 14, 2022 SP-042-001, formerly 2021 Z-114 PR-001, Crutcher Corner SP, a request to rezone from CS and IR to SP zoning for properties along Crutcher Street. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 15, 2022 Z-051 PR-001, a request to rezone from CL to MUNA NS for property along Old Clarksville Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 17, 2022 Z-058 PR-001, a request to rezone from CS to RM20A zoning for property along East Meade Avenue. Staff's recommendation is to approve. And other items under item H of the agenda, item number 19, DeMumbrian Hill SP modification, item 20, new employment contract for Casey Ensign, and 24, to accept the director's report and approve administrative items.
Thank you. And so, commissioners, here are the items that are on the consent agenda that will be approved with one vote. And those items are items 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 19, 20, and 24. Is that correct? All right, we'll need a motion to adopt the consent agenda. All right, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the consent agenda is adopted. So that leaves us to what I believe on the public hearing is only item number 16. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and then obviously we'll have the other business items too. Okay, other than, we've already adopted item 19, 20, and 24. All right, so item 16, who's presenting?
Also me.
Okay, perfect. And so just so everybody knows the procedures, that we have some people, new folks that come in here. We'll do the presentation, we'll open the public hearing up, and then the applicant will have their 10 minutes. They can save 2 of the 10 minutes for rebuttal. And then we'll have folks that want to speak either in opposition or in favor or in opposition, and then we'll close it out with a rebuttal and the council member. All right, go ahead, Amelia.
Okay. Item 16 tonight. My name is Amelia Lewis, and I will be presenting this item, 2022Z-057PR-001. The request is to rezone from AR2A to CS zoning along Nolensville Pike. Staff's recommendation is to disapprove. So the site is shaded on your screen in gray. It's approximately 3 acres on the south side of Nolensville Pike, north of the intersection of Concord Road and Nolensville Pike. The property has frontage along Nolensville Pike, and the rear property line abuts an existing stream. As you can see from the site, the stream buffers and additional floodway are a majority of the site, which are shown in the blue overlaid on the site. So the adjacent properties on the south side of Nolensville Pike and west of the subject site are zoned AR2A and single-family residential, and primarily established with residential single-family uses, as well as some vacant properties. The properties on the north side of Nolensville Pike and to the south at the intersection of Nolensville Pike and Concord Road are a mix of non-residential zoning districts and have primarily been developed with non-residential land uses. There are 2 policies on the site. So the requested rezoning district is commercial services, which would permit a wide range of commercial uses or non-residential uses. So the primary policy on the site, approximately 2 acres of the 3-acre site, is conservation, which is in place. You'll see that it lines up with the existing stream buffer and the floodplain that was shown on the previous site condition slide. So this policy recognizes the presence of that floodplain and the associated stream buffers. The front portion of the site along Nolensville Pike is within an area of suburban neighborhood evolving policy, which is that kind of light yellow right up against the corridor. The intent of this policy is to provide residential development at low to medium levels of intensity. Non-residential zoning districts are not supported by neighborhood evolving policy. So when we received this request, I think we noticed a lot of what the council member was saying initially there is a lot of surrounding commercial development. How did this commercial get there, and what kind of policy changes have occurred on the site over time? So I talked to our policy team, and they were very helpful on providing some background. So prior to Nashville Next in 2017, the policy on the site was community center and natural conservation overlay. So the natural conservation overlay was very similar to the existing conservation policy that we have on the site today. The community center policy would have supported a range of commercial uses, which is why some properties to the south and on the north side of Nolensville Pike were approved to have non-residential zoning districts. Prior to and during Nashville Next, the residents at that time expressed an interest in not having both sides of the corridor be developed with non-residential uses. Coupled with the fact that there are significant environmental features on the site and a policy that would be less impactful, the neighborhood evolving and conservation policies were applied to this side of the corridor, including along the subject site. The Suburban Neighborhood Evolving Policy provides specific guidance for the balance of conservation and evolving policies. According to the policy, in general, the more environmentally sensitive the site is, the lower the acceptable density or intensity of development should be. And the development on a site should consider the development footprint, location of said building footprint, and potential impacts to the environmental features. Rezoning to a district that permits a wider range of uses and increases the development potential on the site, whether it be residential or non-residential, is likely inappropriate given the environmental constraints on the site. Therefore, staff recommends disapproval.
Thank you, Amelia. And so we appreciate that, and we'll open this item for public hearing, and the applicant, come on up. Please state your name and address, and then you have 10 minutes, but you can save 2 of the 10 for rebuttal.
Chairman Atkins, before I get started, may I pass out some flyers?
Yeah, just hand it over to the team.
Commissioners maybe share, as I did not print enough for everyone. Printing costs are high, folks.
Hold on one second. We've got a little clock issue here that we need to address.
I'm not going to make that.
Yeah, you're not going to make it. We'll get you. Yeah, let's see. Just give us a minute. Let's try to get our little clock.
Sorry, I didn't finish that. Did that just happen?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, now try. All right, there we go. All right, go ahead.
Very good. Chairman Atkins, thank you. Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to be here. My name is Brian Taylor. My company is Project Commercial. I'm representing the landowner, Mr. Ahmad, in this rezoning request. A couple things. I'm going to refer to the information that I passed out. Some of it you will see on screen, but I wanted to point out some certain specifics and let me publicly thank Councilmember Swope for speaking on behalf of this request. We certainly appreciate him doing so. My client bought this property in November of 2021. Prior to his acquisition of the property, it had been for sale and, to the best of our knowledge, vacant for the previous 18 months. He owns an appliance and repair business on Nolensville Road, further north, and would like to use this location for that similar use. The only zoning code or land use code that is allowed, or that allows major appliance repair, as generally defined anything larger than a toaster, is CS, which is why we chose that zoning. We realize that this the CS request does not align with policy, but for the various factors is why we request this rezoning. The one thing, as you saw earlier in the map, the majority of this parcel is under a floodway or a floodplain. If this house were built today, it would be in a different location, considering that in 2010 there was 3 feet of water in the back of this house. It would be moved forward. The amount of usable land that's not in the floodway, the floodplain today, is roughly 0.65 acres, and that's of the 3 total acres on the property. Councilman Swope did mention the TDOT project, which has been discussed and on the books now for some time. This piece of property is not in phase 1, but it is in phase 2. So there are slope easements that will be taken as part of the TDOT widening project. There are also temporary construction easements that will be part of that as well. The project, as best estimated in my conversations with TDOT, is that portion of Nolensville Road will likely not be completed as far as the widening goes until 2028. Once that project has completed, the amount of usable space on this parcel will be roughly 1/4 acre, considering what will be left. And then that's outside the current floodplain. In the event they chose to redevelop this property under the guise of CS to utilize that zoning code, two really important factors are FEMA and TDEC. And any approval to move or dissuade or urge the moving of flood waters would be scrutinized quite heavily. Another factor is if you see the property to the north, immediate north of this property, that is a Metro Water Services property. The immediate property to the south, which is predominantly almost entirely in the floodway or floodplain, that of the two calls I received about this process, both being positive, this owner called, his only comments were, he's an elderly gentleman, he's owned the property for a long time. His only comments was, I hope you get it. He's been trying to sell his property for a long time as well, with no success, primarily due to the fact that probably 98% of his property is in the floodplain or floodway. Again, back to what is left after, and one other thing too. Let's say you see the property. Can we back up a couple slides to show a more zoomed out view of multiple properties, not just these three? So that's fine. So our subject property is 104, 005, is that right? The one predominantly to the west, northwest, that's Metro. 101 is Mr. Newton's, who has no objections to this rezoning. 102 is also Metro Water Services, is owned. The next property to the southeast, that is owned by the commercial developer at the corner, which is the published development. Considering the limited ability to really develop this property, and that TDOT and TDEC will certainly have influence over what can or can't happen on this location. We hope that you will see our side of this story. One quick thing too, just to kind of show you a more zoomed in look at exactly what you're looking at. On page 3 of the handout, as well as page 4, I've laid out some of those, the areas and made some notes, again, not on your piece, but what will be left post TDOT project will be roughly 1/4 acre. Page 5 is the current TDOT plan for this particular parcel. From the front of the house to what will be the new right-of-way will be roughly 75 feet. So for anything that will be developed, not only will FEMA and TDEC have a say in the rezoning, the development of some future project, TDOT will most likely have an issue as well with a setback on a state highway. And then the last page is just contour lines. So considering the very limited ability to develop this property, no known objections, unless something comes up after me. The TDOT project, Nolensville Road is a commercial corridor. Obviously, when the Nashville Next neighborhood plan, Nashville Next plan was adopted. Again, in 5 years in this city, a lot of things can change. And 5 years from now, things will continue to change. TDOT wouldn't be widening Nolensville Road and have begun the process and discussion 2 years ago, or I'm sorry, at least 10 years ago, if there weren't a lot going on. In our opinion, Nolensville Road is a commercial corridor. And with limited ability to really develop this, we don't see where CS will be overly egregious or allow anything that the neighborhood would not want going forward. With that, I will conclude my comments for any questions or rebuttal time.
Thank you. And you have 2 minutes for rebuttal at the end.
Okay.
So thank you for that. And so now, anyone in the audience wishing to speak in support of the project? I'll make sure we get everybody. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? All right, so we're back to rebuttal, but really no need to rebut, nothing. So Anything else you want to say before?
Not at this time, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And Councilman Swope already spoke on this particular issue. And so seeing no one else wishing to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. And so, Vice Chair, good to see you.
Good to see you. This is a little bit tricky. I mean, it's clearly not compatible with policy. Certainly the conservation issues raise a lot of concerns. I mean, I'm inclined to support staff's recommendation. I do think that that they made a compelling argument, and I do see that it's very close to all of this commercial development. But it sounds as though this whole stretch is going to actually remain open space. I mean, if it's Metro Water property, it's not likely that the whole stretch is going to develop. So perhaps it's better just to retain everything as open space at this point. So I'm going to listen to others. I am at this point inclined to support staff's recommendation, though I do understand, the applicant's perspective on this.
Commissioner Tibbs.
Is this in the packet what you're planning for it? Do we have something that they've shown that they're planning for it already? I'm wondering, is this the right one that I'm looking at?
No, that's
okay.
It's
Sorry, are you referring to a site plan or what they're planning to do?
Yeah.
And the applicant can confirm on this. So since it is a straight rezoning, we don't necessarily require a site plan. They had indicated that they wanted to use it for a small appliance repair use.
But with a straight rezoning, it could be multiple uses, or it could be sold to other people, and so it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what will be built there. It's just that's what this applicant is intending to do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence with it, but I'm more on the fence of sticking with policy with it. I don't see a strong enough case to go against it. Not that it's, if it wasn't policy there, I don't think I'd have a lot of heartburn toward it. But with the policy in place, I'm not sure there's enough I'm seeing to actually go against your recommendation.
Commissioner Blackshear.
Well, there's not a ton to add, other than I don't think, and our legal counsel and our director, Lucy, can correct me, but if policy is in place that dictates one thing, I don't think we as a body can approve an item, a zone change that conflicts with the policy. So our hands are a bit tied. And often when we see these items come before us, there's an associated policy change request. And there is a very compelling argument in the staff's analysis why a policy change request would also be probably disapproved. But I am curious whether there was a request to maybe change the policy. Was that something the applicant brought up?
We did not receive a request to change the policy with the associated rezoning for the site.
Well, I think that might have been the way to go. And honestly, looking at it, not that I'm prejudging anything, but I think I probably would have voted against a policy change too. But a policy change would be required even for us to approve something, the CS zoning that you're requesting. It just conflicts with policy as provided, and so our hands are a bit tied.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Previous commissioner stated very well. So as a planning commissioner's point of view, I think we have to follow our rules and procedure. And our rule and procedure clearly states, commissioner, based on commission, when it comes to zoning, commissioner will make a decision based on the conformance of the general plan. So that's our measurement and guidance, how we make a recommendation based on the zoning. So for that reason, I understand the reasoning why applicant want to request zone change. I do appreciate the background and so forth, but as a planning commissioner's point of view, we cannot recommend the zone change against not conformance of the general plan. Therefore, I think staff analysis is right on. So I am in support of staff recommendation to disapprove this zone change.
Councilman?
Thank you, Chair. I think the applicant really made a lot of really interesting points about the limited ability to develop the site, which gives me some degree of comfort. But I would agree that it's just so difficult for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation that is counter to the residential-only policy. Sometimes what happens is that council members bring disapproved bills to the council, and I think if Councilmember Soap were to do that, one thing that maybe the council would be a little bit more supportive of is not a straight rezoning, but something that does present a site plan that limits a use, sort of spells out the area of where the activity would be located, potentially would also require retention of the structure, and also would limit those uses to specifically the one that's requested. I think that might be a little bit more persuasive to some of my Metro Council colleagues if and when we have that discussion at a future date. But as things stand today, I agree with my colleagues that as commissioners, we have to follow the policy, and this parcel, the request for this parcel does not meet policy.
Commissioner Haynes? No comments. Commissioner Lawson? Chairman?
No comment.
All right. So is there a motion? We'll need a motion. We're on the process.
To approve the staff recommendation.
So it's a motion to approve the staff's recommendation, which is a disapproval. It's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? All in favor of disapproval, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. It's disapproved. We do appreciate you coming down, and
Thank you, guys.
thank you. We appreciate it. All right. And so there are no other public hearing items, but it's that time of year again. We are on other business, and item number 18, election of the officers. I do want to say I appreciate everyone for allowing me to be chair. It's been an honor and privilege. I know that it's time to nominate a new chair, so I am open to being chair, or if you all think there is another person that would like to do it or is willing to do it, or I am totally open, because I really appreciate all of you very, very much. And so it would not hurt my feelings a bit. But
Is it time for nomination?
well,
But
go ahead,
I
Chairman.
appreciate your comments, but having served here before for a long time, I think it's vitally important that you maintain the same kind of continuity you have here now, whether you like it or not. And I say that in all seriousness, and because you have a good team, and you shouldn't break the chain right now. It is not this time. So I move to adopt the existing members of those positions for chair, vice chair, historic zoning commission, and representative to the Parks Board.
Well, thank you, Chairman. And so
Sorry, Doug.
No, that can be done.
that can be done. Okay, our legal counsel is telling us that that can be done. And so just for clarification, the current chair is myself, and then the vice chair is our good friend. And so, well, and then the historic, so you're speaking of all the positions?
Yes.
Okay. And then vice chair is Jessica Farr. Historic zoning is Commissioner Johnson. Parks Parks representative is Commissioner Haynes. And our executive committee representative, is that Jeff, Mr. Haynes too? Or who, or is it, oh, it's Commissioner Tibbs. Gosh, I'm bad. I'm a bad chair. And so there's proper motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a second. Any other discussion?
Did you ask Commissioner Haynes if he wants to
Commissioner
stay?
Haynes, I didn't even look at him. I was trying not to make eye contact.
Don't ask him now.
I've agreed.
All right.
There we go.
One more year.
One more year. All right.
Oh, my God.
So there's a proper motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. And that was really awkward. But, you know, presiding over your own vote. But thank you. And, you know, just one more comment. I do want to say a couple of things that I feel very, very proud of that we have done as a commission. And one is retaining our director and the team. I think the vice chair and I are extremely proud, and all the commissioners should be proud of the team. There's been a tremendous workload that the team has done. They can tackle complex projects to very small projects. And I also think that we have some of the best public outreach in Metro. And that's not saying anything negative about any other department, but I do take pride in the team of doing that. I also know one thing that I'm proud of is making sure that we have a diverse team and that we have equal pay for the positions that, and I think that's important, you know, so these are big things, right? And so I'm proud of those things. And so I think the commissioners should be proud of those things too. And also we obviously have an open, transparent policy of open door, and I think the director takes really good care of us. So Lucy, Director Kemp, we really appreciate you and your team. So let's give you. Thank you. All right, so historic, Commissioner Johnson.
I just want to thank you for the continued nomination. I really enjoyed representing our body to the Historic Zoning Commission, and Historic Zoning Commission friends are looking forward to my return, so thank you.
Well, and you're extremely passionate about it, and so we appreciate that. And we need somebody that is passionate about it, so we appreciate that. All right, Commissioner Haynes, Parks?
Yeah, I can't say that I enjoy parks quite as much as Council Lady Johnson enjoys historic. It's been a lot of work, but I do like it. Not quite as much as you. No report.
Thank you, Commissioner Haynes. We appreciate your service to that. And it's a lot, you know, I think, as you all know, we're a voluntary body, and so doing those extra positions, it takes a lot more time out of your schedule, and so we do appreciate you all doing that. Executive Committee report, Vice Chair, do we have anything? Nope, I don't think we have anything. Legislative update, Councilman?
Metro Council is deep in the weeds with our budget. I want to thank Director Kemp for coming out yesterday with some of the staff team to present for our budget hearing. I think planning, we had the police department, education, as well as social services, which includes homelessness. So Director Kemp got to be this nice little breath of fresh air between some really contentious topics. But I think that Director Kemp did a great job explaining what the planning department has been working on in the last year or so, what you hope to accomplish in the next couple of years, and look forward to seeing what the wish lists of my colleagues are as we refine the budget. But I want to thank Director Kemp for coming out and doing that. Also just want to give a plug that we are still working on scheduling a few updates about the East Bank planning study. Hoping to get one scheduled soon just for Metro Council as a body, but some additional community outreach, and specifically in the East Nashville community in the coming months. I'm looking forward to bringing that back before the commission soon. So thank you.
All right. And so thank you, Councilman. Our next meeting is June 9th and then one in June 23rd. So, well, Director's reports. Yeah, we put it on the consent agenda and I marked it off. Director, do you have an update for us? Sorry. Thank you, Vice Chair.
That's okay. Thank you. Want to thank Councilman Withers for his good stewardship yesterday, and also George Brooker and Jeffrey Leach for their really hard work on the budget. I'm looking forward to having a work session with the commission to talk about some of our activities, because we do have a recommendation to expand a number of our services, and so I want to make sure the commission is fully abreast of some of those changes. I think it's really exciting because the department is evolving and sort of broadening our ability to influence decisions towards planning outcomes, but that doesn't come without change, and so I want to make sure the commission is fully aware. John Houghton's team is working on two scopes of work, one for Edge Hill and one for Hickory Hollow Mall, and those are evolving parts of our community, and we're excited to move those forward. And once we get a little further down the road, we'd like to sit down and brief the commission about our activities there. And then I'm really pleased that the conservation subdivision standards that you reviewed several months ago have been passed at Council. And so we're working diligently on the second set of recommendations around flatter properties, and we'll be bringing those to you. But that's a great step for our commission and towards preserving some parts of our city that I think are under threat. And so I'm really pleased with that and appreciate your support. And thank you, Councilman, for helping us get that through. And that is all, Chair. And thank you for serving as our chairman, and I want to thank each one of you who are doing the extra duty with the other boards, because this is a hardworking commission. You are here every 2 weeks, sometimes very late. That's a lot to ask for. It's a great community service. So thanks to each and every one of you for your willingness to serve. We are so grateful to you. So thank you.
Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
All right. Seeing no other business, is there a motion to adjourn? Or adjourn?
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.